Unexpected inheritance. Commander Sarah Chen stared out the viewport of the United Earth diplomatic vessel Athena, watching the swirling purple atmosphere of Zarkon Prime grow larger. After months of tense negotiations, humanity was on the verge of establishing formal relations with the notoriously xenophobic Zarkonian Empire. As Earth's top xenodiplomat, Sarah knew the pressure riding on this mission. One wrong move could set human-alien relations back decades. Entering upper atmosphere in 60 seconds, Commander, the ship's AI announced. Sarah smoothed her formal uniform and checked her translation implant one last time. First impressions were crucial, especially with a species as easily offended as the Zarkonians. The Athena glided through thick clouds, emerging over a landscape of towering crystalline spires and twisting organic architecture. Sarah had seen images during mission prep, but nothing compared to witnessing an alien world firsthand. A faint tremor ran through her, equal parts excitement and apprehension. As they approached the ornate landing platform, Sarah noticed an unusual bustle of activity. Dozens of Zarkonians in elaborate ceremonial garb crowded around, chittering excitedly. This wasn't the small welcoming party she'd expected. Curious, remarked Sarah's aide, Lieutenant Park. Their body language suggests anticipation, almost celebration. Very odd for such an isolationist species. Sarah nodded in agreement. Something was off. She'd need to tread carefully. The Athena settled onto the platform with a soft thud. Sarah took a deep breath, centering herself. Time to make history. As the gangway extended, an honor guard of towering Zarkonians lined up. Their iridescent scales shimmered in the amber sunlight. At their head stood an elderly Zarkonian, his elaborate headdress marking him as a high-ranking official. Sarah stepped forward, bowing deeply in the Zarkonian style. Esteemed hosts, I bring greetings from Earth. We are honored by your... At last, the elderly Zarkonian exclaimed, rushing forward with surprising speed. Before Sarah could react, he had wrapped her in a full-body embrace. The heir has arrived. Sarah froze, baffled. This was not standard Zarkonian protocol. As the alien released her, she struggled to find words. I'm afraid there's been some misunderstanding. I'm Commander Sarah Chen, here to establish diplomatic. The Zarkonian waved a clawed hand dismissively. Yes, we know who you are, Herr Sarah. Come, there is much to discuss. The fate of two empires hangs in the balance. With that cryptic statement, Sarah found herself whisked away by the enthusiastic welcoming party. Lieutenant Park and the rest of her team scrambled to keep up, shooting concerned glances her way. They were led to an enormous crystal dome, its faceted surface refracting the sunlight into dazzling patterns. Inside, hundreds of Zarkonians had gathered, all staring at Sarah with an unsettling intensity. The elderly official guided her to an elevated platform and addressed the crowd. Rejoice, for the prophecy is fulfilled. Trovor's chosen has arrived to claim her rightful inheritance. A deafening cheer erupted. Sarah's mind raced. Trovor, the name was vaguely familiar from her briefings. An eccentric Zarkonian trillionaire, supposedly with human sympathies. But what did he have to do with her? As the crowd's roar subsided, the official turned to Sarah. I am Versuk, executor of Trollvor's estate. With your arrival, we can at last proceed with the rite of succession. Sarah held up her hands. Wait, please, there's clearly been a mistake. I'm not here to claim any inheritance. I'm a diplomat, here to discuss. Versuk's expression grew concerned. You did not receive Trollvor's message. The psychic imprint he sent to his chosen heir. Sarah shook her head. I'm sorry, but no. I have no idea what you're talking about. A ripple of worried murmurs spread through the crowd. Versuk's scales paled noticeably. This is most irregular, but no matter. The bioscans confirm your identity as the heir. We shall proceed. Before Sarah could protest further, Versuk produced an ornate crystal sphere. Behold Trollvor's final testimony. The sphere pulsed with swirling energy. Suddenly, a holographic image sprang to life, an elderly Zarkonian with bright blue scales and twinkling eyes. "Greetings, Saracen of Earth," the image proclaimed. "If you are seeing this, then I, Tralvor, have shed my mortal coil. But fear not. Death is but the beginning of our grand adventure together." Sarah gaped at the hologram. How did this alien know her name? The image continued, "You're no doubt confused. Allow me to explain. For decades, I've worked in secret to bridge the gap between our species. Humanity's potential is limitless, yet squandered by fear and mistrust on both sides. My life's work has been to change that." Trolvor's image smiled warmly. "You, Sarah, are the key. Your brilliance, your compassion, your unwavering dedication to peace. These are the qualities needed to usher in a new era of cooperation. That is why I've chosen you as my heir." The hologram gestured grandly. "I leave to you my entire fortune. My corporations, my holdings, my technological innovations, all now belong to you. Use them wisely to bring our peoples together." Sarah's head spun. The implications were staggering. Trolvor's corporations controlled a significant portion of the Zarkonian economy, with such resources at her disposal. But the hologram wasn't finished. Trolvor's expression grew serious. "However, there is one final requirement to claim your inheritance. To truly unite our species, you must take a Zarkonian mate." The crowd gasped. Sarah's jaw dropped. "I have chosen for you my beloved daughter, Zarna," Tralvor continued. "She may not possess the conventional beauty prized by either of our species, but her mind is unparalleled. Together, you will be unstoppable." The hologram flickered and vanished. Sarah stood frozen, trying to process everything she'd just heard. An alien fortune and an arranged marriage. Versuk stepped forward, gesturing to a figure that had been standing quietly in the shadows. "Here, Sarah, may I present your betrothed, Zarna, daughter of Tralvor." The Zarkonian female stepped into the light. Sarah couldn't help but wince. Unconventional beauty was an understatement. Zarna's scales were a mottled green, her cranial ridges asymmetrical and overgrown. By both human and Zarkonian standards, she was decidedly unattractive. But as their eyes met, Sarah saw a keen intelligence in Zarna's gaze. And was that a flicker of amusement? "Well," Zarna said dryly, her translator rendering her words in crisp English, "this is rather awkward, isn't it?" Sarah let out a surprised laugh. Perhaps this wouldn't be so bad after all. But as she looked out at the expectant crowd, the enormity of the situation came crashing down. She'd come to negotiate a simple trade agreement. Now the fate of two species rested on her shoulders, and her willingness to enter an arranged marriage with an alien she'd just met. Sarah took a deep breath. Time to be the diplomat she was trained to be. "Versuk," she said carefully, "I am deeply honored by Trolvor's bequest. However, this is highly irregular. I'll need time to consult with my superiors and review the legal implications before I can formally accept." A concerned murmur rippled through the crowd. Versuk's scales paled further. "But the rite of succession, it must be completed within 3 cycles of the heir's arrival. To delay would be a grave insult to Trolvor's memory." Sarah glanced at Zarna, who gave a slight nod of encouragement. "I understand the cultural significance," Sarah continued smoothly. "Perhaps we can reach a compromise. I propose a probationary period. Allow me 3 cycles to review the inheritance and get to know Zarna. At the end of that time, I will make my final decision." Versuk considered this, chittering quietly with his advisors. Finally, he nodded. "Your proposal is acceptable, Herr Sarah, but be warned, to reject the inheritance after this period would have grave consequences for both our peoples." As the crowd dispersed, Sarah's mind raced. She needed to contact Earth immediately. This changed everything. Zarna approached, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "Well, beloved," she said, "it seems we have much to discuss." Sarah couldn't help but smile. Whatever came next, It was certainly going to be interesting. Little did she know, light years away, shadowy forces were already mobilizing. Trollvor's vision of unity had powerful enemies who would stop at nothing to see it fail. The fate of two civilizations now rested in Sarah's hands, and the clock was ticking. Diplomatic challenges. As the twin suns of Zarkon Prime dipped below the crystalline horizon, Sarah Chen found herself in a lavish suite within Trollvor's sprawling estate. The walls shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, responding to her emotions in an unsettling dance of light and color. She paced restlessly, waiting for her secure link to Earth to connect. Finally, the holographic image of Admiral Zhao materialized, his weathered face etched with concern. "Commander Chen, your report is troubling, to say the least. An alien inheritance, an arranged marriage. This complicates matters significantly." Sarah nodded, running a hand through her disheveled hair. "Sir, I'm well aware. But there's more. I've been reviewing Trollvor's files, and the scope of his influence is staggering. His corporations don't just control Zarkonian commerce, they're deeply embedded in their military-industrial complex as well." The Admiral's eyebrows shot up. "Are you saying?" "Yes, sir. If I accept this inheritance, humanity would effectively control a significant portion of Zarkonian military production. It's an unprecedented opportunity, but the political ramifications could be catastrophic if mishandled," Zhao finished grimly. "The Hawks on the Security Council will see this as a chance to gain a strategic advantage over the Zarkonians. But if we're too aggressive, it could spark an interstellar war." Sarah's shoulders slumped. "What are my orders, sir?" Admiral Zhao was silent for a long moment. "For now, maintain your cover. Accept the probationary period, but make no binding commitments. We need time to analyze the full implications of this situation." He paused, his expression softening slightly. "And Sarah, be careful. You're in uncharted territory here." As the transmission ended, Sarah sank onto a conforming chair, her mind whirling. The enormity of the situation threatened to overwhelm her. A soft chime at the door broke her reverie. "Enter," she called, straightening her posture. The door arised open, revealing Zarna. The Zarkonian female entered gracefully, her mottled scales catching the room's shifting light in mesmerizing patterns. "I hope I'm not intruding," Zarna said, her translator rendering her chittering speech into melodious English. "I thought perhaps we should get to know each other, given the circumstances." Sarah gestured to a nearby chair. "Please sit. I have to admit, I'm curious about your perspective on all this. Did you know about your father's plan?" Zarna settled into the chair, her long tail curling around its base. "Not the specifics, no. But I knew he was working towards something monumental. My father was always a visionary, even by our standards." She tilted her head, regarding Sarah with those unsettlingly intelligent eyes. "And what of you, Sarah Chen? Did you ever imagine you'd find yourself in an arranged marriage with an alien?" Sarah couldn't help but laugh. "I can safely say it wasn't in my 5-year career plan, no." She sobered quickly. "Zarna, I have to ask, are you really okay with this? With being bequeathed like property?" Zarna's scales rippled in what Sarah was beginning to recognize as amusement. "Oh, don't let the archaic trappings fool you. This is as much my choice as it is yours. My father may have set the stage, but we're the ones who will decide how this play unfolds." Before Sarah could respond, an alarm blared throughout the estate. The bioluminescent walls pulsed an angry red. "What's happening?" Sarah demanded, jumping to her feet. Zarna's eyes widened in alarm. "Perimeter breach. We're under attack." The floor beneath them shuddered as a distant explosion rocked the estate. Sarah's training kicked in. "We need to get to a secure location. Is there a safe room?" Zarna nodded, already moving towards a hidden panel in the wall. "This way." As they raced through twisting corridors, Sarah's mind raced. Who was attacking? Rival Zarkonian factions, human extremists, or something else entirely? They reached a reinforced door just as another explosion shook the building. Zana pressed her palm to a scanner, and the door slid open with a pneumatic hiss. They hurried inside, the door sealing behind them with a reassuring thud. The safe room was a hub of advanced technology. Holographic displays sprang to life, showing security feeds from around the estate. Sarah's blood ran cold as she saw the attackers, a mix of species, all wearing the same sleek black armor. Mercenaries, she breathed. But who hired them? Zana was already at a control panel, her clawed fingers dancing over the interface. Activating estate defenses, but they've already breached the outer perimeter. It won't hold them for long. Sarah joined her at the console, quickly grasping the alien yet intuitive controls. We need to call for help. Can we get a message to the Zarkonian authorities? Zana's scales paled. Communications are jammed. We're on our own. As if to emphasize the point, the main display flickered, replaced by the image of a scarred saurian, his reptilian features twisted into a cruel smile. Greetings, Herr Sarah, the saurian hissed. I am Drexcar, and I'm afraid your inheritance has been revoked. Nothing personal, you understand. Just business. Sarah's mind raced. She needed to buy time. What do you want, Drexcar? If it's Trollvor's fortune you're after, perhaps we can negotiate. The saurian laughed, a chilling sound. Oh, it's far more than mere credits we're after. Trollvor's vision of unity is a threat to the natural order. There are those who prefer the galaxy, divided. Easier to control that way, you see. Zana stepped forward, her voice filled with quiet fury. You'll never succeed. My father's work will live on, with or without us. Drexcar's eyes narrowed. Bold words, little one. But I'm afraid you won't live to see them proven true. Enjoy your final moments together. I'll be seeing you soon. The transmission cut off, replaced by the security feeds showing the mercenaries' inexorable advance. Sarah turned to Zana, her mind already formulating plans and discarding them just as quickly. Zana, I need to know everything about this estate's defenses, and I mean everything. Hidden passages, experimental tech, anything your father might have kept off the official blueprints. Zana's eyes widened in understanding. There might be something. Follow me. They hurried to a seemingly blank wall. Zana pressed a specific pattern of scales on her forearm, and a hidden door slid open, revealing a small laboratory filled with strange devices. My father's private workshop, Zana explained. Most of this is still in the experimental stage, but she trailed off, her gaze locked on a sleek, gun-like device. This might be our best chance. Sarah picked up the weapon, feeling its strange weight. What does it do? It's a phase disruptor, Zana said, designed to temporarily shift matter out of sync with our dimension. In theory, it could render their weapons and armor useless. In theory, Sarah raised an eyebrow. Zana's scales rippled in what might have been a shrug. It's never been field-tested. There were stability issues. Another explosion rocked the estate, closer this time. Sarah made her decision. Well, no time like the present for a field test. How many of these do we have? As they armed themselves with the experimental weapons, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the absurdity of the situation. Here she was, light years from Earth, preparing to face down an army of mercenaries alongside her alien fiancé, wielding untested technology that might very well blow up in their faces. And yet, as she caught Zana's determined gaze, Sarah felt a surge of something. Not quite trust, not yet, but a sense of shared purpose, of potential. Ready? She asked. Zana's mandibles clicked in what Sarah was learning to recognize as a smile. Ready. Let's show these Petak what happens when they threaten our inheritance. With a nod, Sarah palmed the door control. It was time to take the fight to their attackers. As they stepped out into the chaos-filled corridors, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Whatever forces were aligning against them, whatever shadowy conspiracy sought to keep their peoples divided, She and Zarna were now at the center of a storm that would shape the future of the galaxy. And come hell or high water, they were going to weather it together. The phase disruptors hummed with barely contained energy as Sarah and Zarna moved through the estate's winding corridors. The sounds of combat grew louder, energy weapons discharging, the crash of breaching charges, and the chittering war cries of Zarkonian security forces. They rounded a corner and came face to face with a trio of mercenaries. Sarah's training took over. She raised the disruptor and fired in one fluid motion. A cone of shimmering energy engulfed the lead mercenary. For a heartbeat, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a sound like reality itself tearing, the attacker's armor began to ripple and distort. The mercenary let out an inhuman shriek as portions of their bodies seemed to phase in and out of existence. Sarah didn't wait to see the final result. She was already moving, Zarna right beside her. They made a surprisingly effective team, Sarah's military precision complementing Zarna's intimate knowledge of the estate's layout. As they fought their way towards the central security hub, Sarah's mind raced. Who was behind this attack? Drexcar had hinted at a larger conspiracy, forces that wanted to keep the galaxy divided. But why? And how deep did this conspiracy run? They reached the security hub, finding it in chaos. Versuk was there, coordinating the estate's defenses with admirable calm given the circumstances. "Herr Sarah," he exclaimed, "praise the ancients you're alive. We feared the worst when we lost contact." Sarah quickly briefed him on the situation, showing him the phase disruptors. Versuk's eyes widened at the sight of the experimental weapons. Trelvor's personal projects, he breathed. "I had no idea he'd progressed so far." "They're effective," Sarah confirmed, "but we need more than just these to turn the tide. What's our status?" Versuk's expression grew grim. "The outer perimeter is lost. We're holding them at the inner defensive line, but it's only a matter of time. Our long-range communications are still jammed, and our shields won't last much longer under this assault." Sarah's mind raced, analyzing the tactical situation. They were outgunned and outnumbered, with no hope of immediate reinforcement. A direct confrontation would be suicide. Then her eyes fell on a holographic display of the estate's power distribution network. An idea began to form, risky, potentially catastrophic, but their best shot at survival. "Versuk," she said urgently, "does the estate have a quantum entanglement communicator?" The Zarkonian blinked in surprise. "Yes, but it's purely experimental. The power requirements are enormous, and it's never been successfully tested at interstellar distances." "It'll have to do. Zarna, I need you to get that communicator online. Send a message to Earth, Admiral Zeo, Priority Alpha. Tell him we're under attack and need immediate assistance." She turned back to Versuk. "I need control of the estate's power grid. All of it." As Zarna hurried to the communications array, Sarah outlined her plan to Versuk. The elderly Zarkonian's scales paled as he realized the implications. "But that would destroy much of the estate," he protested. "Trolvol's life's work." "If we don't do this, there won't be an estate left to save," Sarah countered. "Trust me, Versuk, it's our only chance." After a moment's hesitation, Versuk nodded and granted Sarah full access to the power systems. She got to work immediately, rerouting power and overriding safety protocols. Zarna's voice cut through her concentration. "Sarah, I've established a link with Earth, but it's unstable. We don't have much time." Sarah hurried to the communications array. Admiral Zeo's holographic image flickered into existence, distorted and fragmented. "Chen, what's going on? We're barely receiving you." Sarah spoke quickly, aware that every second counted. "Sir, we're under attack by unknown forces. They're after Trolvor's technology and trying to sabotage any chance of human-Zarkonian alliance. I have a plan, but I need your authorization for emergency protocol Omega-9. Zeo's image crackled, his expression grave. "Omega-9. Chen, that's a last resort measure. Are you absolutely certain? Another explosion rocked the estate. Alarms blared as the shields began to fail. Affirmative, sir, it's our only option. There was a moment of agonizing silence. Then Zhao nodded. Authorization granted. Good luck, Commander. Zhao out. The transmission cut off. Sarah turned to Versuk and Zana, her expression resolute. Evacuate everyone you can to the deep shelters. You have 5 minutes. As they rushed to comply, Sarah returned to the power controls. Her fingers flew over the alien interface, enacting the final stages of her desperate plan. 4 minutes later, the estate shuddered as its shields finally collapsed. Sarah could hear the mercenaries breaching the inner defenses, their victory cries echoing through the corridors. 3 minutes. Zana returned, breathless. The evacuation is complete. What now? 2 minutes. Sarah handed Zana a phase disruptor. Now we hold the line. This has to be timed perfectly. 1 minute. The security hub's doors began to glow red as the attackers attempted to cut through. Sarah's hand hovered over the final command key. 30 seconds. The doors burst open. Drexkar himself strode in, flanked by his mercenaries, his reptilian features twisted into a triumphant sneer. It's over, little humans, he hissed. Surrender now, and I might make your deaths quick. Sarah met his gaze unflinchingly. You're right about one thing, Drexkar. It is over. She slammed her hand down on the command key. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a sound like 1,000 thunderclaps, every power source in the estate overloaded simultaneously. A blinding flash of light engulfed them all. When Sarah's vision cleared, she found herself floating in a sea of scintillating energy. Fragments of the estate, mercenaries, and defensive systems hung suspended around her, caught in a massive phase disruption field. The gamble had worked. By overloading the experimental phase technology and combining it with the estate's considerable power reserves, Sarah had created a localized dimensional rift. They were trapped between realities but alive, and their attackers were neutralized. Zana drifted closer, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and disbelief. By the ancients, you did it. But now what? Before Sarah could respond, a new sound cut through the ethereal silence. The deep, resonant hum of capital ship engines. A massive vessel shimmered into existence above them, an Earth dreadnought, responding to their distress call. Smaller craft swarmed from its hangars, their tractor beams locking onto the phase-shifted debris and life signs. As a rescue shuttle approached, Sarah allowed herself a moment of relief. They had survived against all odds, but she knew this was just the beginning. Whoever was behind this attack, whatever forces sought to keep humanity and the Zarkonians at odds, they had failed, and in doing so, they had only strengthened Sarah's resolve. She reached out, taking Zana's clawed hand in her own. Together, they would unravel this conspiracy. Together, they would forge a new future for both their peoples. As the rescue shuttle's tractor beam enveloped them, Sarah couldn't help but smile. Trovor's dream of unity was still alive, and she was ready to fight for it. Unveiling ancient secrets, the gleaming halls of the United Earth Embassy on Zaracon Prime buzzed with nervous energy. It had been 3 standard weeks since the attack on Trovor's estate, and the political fallout was reaching a fever pitch. Sarah Chen stood before a holo display, studying the latest intelligence reports with a furrowed brow. Commander Chen, a crisp voice called. Sarah turned to see Ambassador Lyra Novak striding towards her, datapad in hand. The Zarkonian High Council is demanding answers. They're claiming the attack was a false flag operation by Earth to seize control of Trollvor's assets. Sarah suppressed a sigh. Of course they are. Any word from Admiral Zao? Novak shook her head. Nothing concrete, but there are whispers of something big brewing back home. The Security Council is in closed-door sessions around the clock. Before Sarah could respond, a commotion erupted near the embassy's main entrance. Zana burst in, flanked by a phalanx of Zarkonian guards. Her scales were flushed with agitation. "Sarah," she called out, "we have a problem. A big one." As Zarina approached, Sarah noticed she was clutching an ornate crystal cylinder. "What's going on?" "This," Zarna said, holding up the cylinder, "is my father's personal data core. It contains his most sensitive research. I spent days trying to decrypt it, and I finally succeeded." She paused, her multifaceted eyes intense. "Sarah, what he discovered, it changes everything." Ambassador Novak cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should take this somewhere more private." Minutes later, they were sequestered in a secure briefing room. Zarna inserted the crystal into a holographic projector. The air shimmered, filling with streams of alien text and diagrams. "My father's research went far beyond mere technological innovation," Zarna explained. "He was investigating the true origins of both our species." Sarah leaned forward, intrigued. "What do you mean?" Zarna manipulated the holographic display, bringing up images of ancient ruins on both Earth and Zarkon Prime. These structures, separated by light years, share identical mathematical proportions. It's statistically impossible for this to be coincidence. Ambassador Novak's eyes widened. "Are you suggesting?" "A common ancestor," Zarna confirmed, "or more accurately, a common creator. My father believed that both humans and Zarkonians were seeded on our respective worlds by an ancient, hyper-advanced species." Sarah's mind reeled at the implications. "But that would mean that we're far more closely related than anyone ever imagined," Zarna finished. "Essentially cousins, separated by millions of years of divergent evolution." The room fell silent as the weight of this revelation sank in. Sarah's thoughts raced. If this information got out, it would upend the entire galactic political landscape. Ambassador Novak was the first to speak. "This is unprecedented. We need to inform Earth immediately. The diplomatic implications alone." "No," Sarah said sharply. Both Novak and Zarna looked at her in surprise. "Think about it. Whoever was behind the attack on the estate clearly doesn't want our species to unite. If they learn we've discovered this, we'll all be in imminent danger." Zarna nodded slowly. "She's right. We need to verify this information ourselves before we reveal it to anyone." "And how do you propose we do that?" Novak asked skeptically. Sarah's eyes gleamed with determination. "We go to the source." "Zarna, did your father's research indicate where these ruins are located?" "Yes," Zarna replied, manipulating the holo display once more. A star map appeared, highlighting a system near the border of explored space. He believed the strongest evidence would be found here, on a planet humans call Novus Arcadia. Sarah's breath caught. Novus Arcadia. But that's a restricted zone, off-limits to both human and Zarkonian exploration by interstellar treaty. "Exactly," Zarna said. "The perfect place to hide ancient secrets." Ambassador Novak shook her head vehemently. "Absolutely not. I cannot sanction an illegal expedition into restricted space. The diplomatic repercussions." "With all due respect, Ambassador," Sarah interjected, "we're already neck-deep in a conspiracy that threatens both our species. Official channels aren't going to cut it." Novak's expression hardened. "Commander Chen, need I remind you of your duty?" Sarah stood tall, meeting the ambassador's gaze unflinchingly. "My duty is to protect Earth and foster peaceful relations with alien species. Right now, this is the best way to do that." A tense silence fell over the room. Finally, Novak's shoulders slumped slightly. "I can't officially endorse this, but I can give you 72 hours before I'm forced to report your absence." Sarah nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Ambassador. That's all we need." As Novak left the room, Sarah turned to Zarna. "We'll need a ship, something fast and stealthy." Zarna's mandibles clicked in what Sarah now recognized as a sleaze smile. "Leave that to me. My father's personal yacht should do nicely. Officially, it's undergoing maintenance. Unofficially, It's ours for the taking. Sarah couldn't help but grin. I like the way you think. But we can't do this alone. We need a crew we can trust implicitly. I might have an idea about that, Zana said thoughtfully. There's someone we should visit first. Hours later, Sarah found herself in one of Zarkon Prime's less reputable districts, following Zana through a maze of twisting alleys. They stopped before a nondescript door, its surface etched with faded glyphs. Are you sure about this? Sarah whispered. Zana nodded. If anyone can help us assemble a crew for an off-the-books mission, it's him. She rapped on the door in a complex pattern. After a moment, it slid open with a pneumatic hiss. They stepped into a dimly lit room filled with eclectic artifacts from a dozen worlds. A gravelly voice called out from the shadows. Well, the prodigal daughter returns, and she's brought a new playmate. A figure emerged from the gloom, a Zarkonian male, older than Zarna, his scales a deep crimson. One eye was covered by a high-tech patch, and his left arm appeared to be a sophisticated prosthetic. Sarah, Zarna said, meet my older brother, Kexavor, master thief, information broker, and the black sheep of the family. Kexavor executed an exaggerated bow. Charmed, I'm sure. Now, little sister, what kind of trouble are you looking to get into this time? As Zarna outlined their plan, Kexavor's expression grew increasingly serious. When she finished, he let out a low whistle. Novus Arcadia. You don't think small, do you? He paced the room, tail swishing thoughtfully. I might know some people. Skilled, discreet, and crazy enough to take on a job like this. But it'll cost you. Sarah stepped forward. Whatever the price, I'll pay it. This is too important. Kexor's good eye gleamed with interest. Oh, and what makes you so sure this little treasure hunt is worth the risk? Because, Sarah said firmly, the future of both our species depends on it. A slow smile spread across Kexavor's face. Now that's what I like to hear. All right, you've piqued my interest. Give me 12 hours to make some calls. Oh, and one more thing, wherever you're going, I'm coming with you. Zarna started to protest, but Kexavor held up a hand. Non-negotiable, little sister. Someone needs to watch your back, and I don't trust anyone else to do it properly. As they left Kexavor's den, Sarah's mind was already racing with preparations. In less than 2 standard days, they would be embarking on an illegal expedition to a restricted planet, chasing ancient secrets that could rewrite galactic history. The logical part of her mind screamed that this was madness. But as she caught Zarna's determined gaze, Sarah felt a thrill of excitement. Together, they were about to dive headfirst into the unknown. And somewhere out there, the truth awaited. Interstellar intrigue. The sleek silhouette of Trollvor's yacht, newly christened the Starwaver, sliced through the inky void of deep space. Its experimental stealth systems, a parting gift from Kexavor's less-than-legal contacts, rendered it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. On the bridge, Sarah Chen stood before the main view screen, watching stars streak by in hypnotic patterns. The crew Kexavor had assembled was a motley assortment of species, each with their own shadowy past and unique set of skills. Approaching the Novus Arcadia system, announced Zix, the ship's Quarian navigator. His environmental suit's faceplate gleamed as he manipulated holographic controls. Dropping out of FTL in 3, 2, 1. The Starweaver shuddered slightly as it decelerated. The swirling patterns of hyperspace gave way to a breathtaking vista, a binary star system, its twin suns casting ethereal glow across a sea of asteroids and space debris. Sensors are picking up unusual energy signatures, reported Tilara, a statuesque volcanoid whose logical demeanor belied her checkered past as an information broker, consistent with advanced cloaking technology. Sarah's eyes narrowed. It seems we're not the only ones interested in Novus Arcadia's secrets. Zix, can you pinpoint the source? The Quarian's fingers danced across his console. Difficult to say with certainty, but the highest concentration appears to be coming from the 3rd planet. That's our target, Zana confirmed, studying the holographic display. My father's research indicated the ruins would be located in the northern hemisphere. Kexvor lounged in the co-pilot's seat, his cybernetic eye whirring as it scanned readouts. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, folks, but we've got company. 2 vessels on an intercept course, coming in hot. Sarah's mind raced. Identification. Negative, Tilara replied. Their transponders are scrambled, but based on their energy signatures, I'd wager they're not here for a friendly chat. Battle stations, Sarah ordered, slipping easily into her role as commander. Zix, plot an evasive course through the asteroid field. Kexvor, ready weapons, but hold fire unless absolutely necessary. We're here to make discoveries, not start a war. The crew sprang into action with practiced efficiency. The Starwaver dove into the tumbling mass of space rock, weaving between jagged boulders with preternatural agility. Their pursuers, however, were relentless. Energy beams lanced out, vaporizing asteroids and narrowly missing the Starwaver's hull. They're gaining on us, Zix called out, his usually calm voice tinged with tension. Sarah gritted her teeth. Tilara, analyze their attack patterns. See if you can identify any weaknesses. The Vulcanoid's fingers flew across her console. Curious. Their weapon signatures don't match any known configuration in my database. It's as if. She was cut off by a violent impact that sent everyone sprawling. Alarm klaxons blared as red emergency lighting bathed the bridge in an ominous glow. Direct hit to our port stabilizers, Kexvor growled, pulling himself back into his seat. Shields are holding, but barely. Sarah helped Zana to her feet, their eyes meeting in a moment of shared determination. We can't outrun them, Sarah said. Time to change tactics. Zix, find us the biggest asteroid you can. Tilara, divert all non-essential power to the stealth systems. What are you planning? Zana asked, a note of excitement in her voice. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. A little trick I learned in the academy. We're going to hide in plain sight. The Starwaver banked hard, diving towards a massive, irregularly shaped asteroid. At the last possible second, Zix fired the maneuvering thrusters, bringing them to a stomach-churning halt mere meters from the rock's cratered surface. Powering down all non-essential systems, Tilara reported, initiating stealth mode. The bridge fell into near darkness, illuminated only by the faint glow of emergency lighting and essential displays. Through the viewscreen, they watched as their pursuers streaked past, clearly confused by the Starwaver's sudden disappearance. It worked, Zix breathed, his relief palpable even through his suit's vocal filters. Don't celebrate yet, Kexvor warned. They'll be back. Those weren't standard patrol ships. Someone knew we were coming. Sarah nodded grimly. Agreed, which means our window of opportunity just got a lot smaller. Zix, as soon as those ships are out of sensor range, I want you to plot a course for the planet's surface. We need to find those ruins before our friends out there do. As the crew prepared for planetfall, Sarah pulled Zana aside. I need you to be ready for anything down there, she said softly. If your father's research is correct, what we find could change everything. Zana's multifaceted eyes gleamed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. I know, but whatever happens, we're in this together. Sarah felt a warmth spread through her chest at Zana's words. Their relationship had evolved far beyond the awkward arranged marriage Trelvor had envisioned. In the crucible of danger and discovery, they had forged a bond stronger than either of them could have imagined. Together, Sarah agreed, giving Zana's hand a gentle squeeze. Little did they know, the true test of that bond was yet to come. For on the surface of Novus Arcadia, ancient powers stirred, powers that would challenge not just their relationship, but the very fabric of reality itself. As the Starweaver began its descent through Novus Arcadia's turbulent atmosphere, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the precipice of something monumental. The secrets buried on this forbidden world had the potential to rewrite galactic history, and perhaps the future of both their species. But first, they had to survive the landing. Atmospheric interference is playing havoc with our sensors, Zix reported, his three-fingered hands dancing across the controls. I'm flying blind here, Commander. Sarah gripped the back of his chair, her knuckles white. Do your best, Zix. Tilara, any luck breaking through the interference? The Vulcanoid shook her head, frustration evident in her usually stoic features. Negative. There's some kind of energy field blanketing the entire planet. It's unlike anything I've ever encountered. A violent shudder ran through the ship, nearly throwing Sarah off her feet. Warning klaxons blared as red emergency lighting bathed the bridge in an ominous glow. We've lost the port stabilizers, Kexvor shouted over the din, compensating with maneuvering thrusters, but we're coming in hot. Sarah's mind raced. They were too committed to abort now. Everyone, brace for impact. Zix, aim for that clearing. Through the viewscreen, a small break in the dense alien foliage rushed up to meet them. Sarah felt Zana's hand slip into hers, squeezing tightly. Time seemed to slow as the ground approached. With a bone-jarring impact, the Starweaver plowed into the soft earth of Novus Arcadia. The screech of tearing metal filled the air as the ship carved a deep furrow through the alien soil. When they finally skidded to a halt, an eerie silence descended. Sarah blinked, her ears ringing. Status report. Is everyone all right? A chorus of groans and affirmatives answered her. As the emergency systems kicked in, dissipating the smoke that filled the bridge, Sarah took stock of their situation. The Starweaver was a mess of sparking consoles and twisted metal, but miraculously, the crew had survived relatively unscathed. Zix's expert piloting, even under impossible conditions, had saved their lives. Well, Kexvor quipped, brushing debris from his sails, I'd say that qualifies as a successful landing. You know, by the standards of people who enjoy near-death experiences. Sarah ignored him, moving to help Tilara, who was pinned under a fallen support beam. Together with Zarna, they managed to free the Vulcanoid. We need to evacuate, Sarah announced. Grab whatever supplies and equipment you can salvage. We don't know what's waiting for us out there. As the crew scrambled to gather essentials, Sarah made her way to the ship's aft section. The cargo hold had been converted into a makeshift armory, stocked with an eclectic array of weapons and gear courtesy of Kexvor's less-than-legal connections. She began distributing equipment, energy rifles, personal shield generators, and atmospheric filtration masks. We don't know if the air is breathable, she explained. Better safe than sorry. Zana appeared at her side, already geared up. Sarah, look at this, she said, holding out a small crystalline device. It's my father's data core. During the crash, it started pulsing. Sarah examined the device. Sure enough, it emitted a faint, rhythmic glow. Some kind of proximity sensor, maybe. Your father must have programmed it to react when near the ruins. Which means we're close, Zana finished, excitement evident in her voice. Once the crew was equipped, Sarah led them to the Starweaver's emergency hatch. With a hiss of equalizing pressure, it slid open, revealing the alien landscape of Novus Arcadia. They stepped out into a world of muted twilight. Twin suns hung low on the horizon, their light filtered through a perpetual haze that seemed to permeate the atmosphere. The vegetation was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen, twisting, iridescent fronds that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Atmospheric analysis complete, Tilara announced, studying her tricorder. Oxygen levels are within acceptable parameters, but there are trace elements I can't identify. I recommend we keep our filtration masks on for now. Sarah nodded, then turned to address the group. All right, listen up. Our primary objective is to locate the ruins. Zana's data core will guide us. Stay alert and stick together. We don't know what kind of wildlife might be out there, or if we're alone on this planet. As if in answer to her words, a distant, haunting cry echoed through the alien forest. The sound sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. Charming, Kexvor muttered, his cybernetic eye whirring as it scanned their surroundings. I don't suppose it's too late to vote for going home. Ignoring him, Sarah squared her shoulders. Move out. Zana, you've got point. Lead the way. As they ventured deeper into the bioluminescent forest, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The very air seemed charged with an ancient, inscrutable intelligence. Little did they know, their every move was indeed being monitored. Deep beneath the surface of Novus Arcadia, in chambers untouched for millennia, long-dormant systems hummed to life. The descendants of the creators had returned at last. And the great test was about to begin, awakening the ancients. The expedition team pushed through the dense, bioluminescent foliage of Novus Arcadia, each step taking them deeper into the unknown. Sarah Chen led the way, her energy rifle at the ready, while Zarvana followed close behind, her eyes fixed on the pulsing data core that guided their path. The signal's getting stronger, Zahn announced, her voice tinged with excitement. We must be close. As if in response to her words, the alien forest suddenly gave way to a massive clearing. The team halted, awestruck by the sight before them. Rising from the mist-shrouded ground was a titanic structure that defied comprehension. Sweeping arches of an impossibly smooth, opalescent material stretched skyward, interconnecting in mind-bending geometric patterns. At its center stood a towering spire that seemed to pierce the very heavens. By the cosmic winds, Six breathed, his environmental suit's faceplate fogging slightly. It's beautiful. Tilaura's tricorder whirred furiously as she scanned the structure. The energy readings are off the charts. This technology is far beyond anything in my database. Kexvor's cybernetic eye zoomed in, analyzing the structure's surface. No signs of wear or erosion. This thing could have been built yesterday or 1,000,000 years ago. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The air around them seemed charged with potential, as if the very atoms were holding their breath in anticipation. This has to be it, Zana said, her scales shimmering with excitement. The ancestral home of both our species, the place where it all began. As they approached the base of the structure, Sarah noticed intricate patterns etched into its surface. They seemed to shift and change as she looked at them, forming complex equations one moment and flowing into abstract art the next. Look, Tilara called out, pointing to a section near what appeared to be an entrance. These symbols, they're a mix of ancient human and Zarkonian script. Sarah and Zarna exchanged a meaningful glance. Here was tangible proof of their shared heritage. Suddenly, the data core in Zarna's hand pulsed with blinding intensity. The ground beneath their feet trembled, and a seam appeared in the structure's seamless surface. With a sound like 1,000 crystal glasses singing in harmony, a doorway arised open. Well, Kexvor quipped, his hand resting nervously on his blaster, I guess that's an invitation if I ever saw one. Sarah nodded grimly. Stay alert. We don't know what we're walking into. They entered the structure, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous interior. The walls pulsed with soft, ambient light that seemed to respond to their presence. As they ventured deeper, holographic displays sprang to life around them, showing star maps, complex mathematical formulae, and images of DNA strands. It's a repository, Zana breathed in awe. All the knowledge of our creators, preserved for eons. Before Sarah could respond, a deep, resonant tone filled the air. The holographic displays flickered and coalesced into a single towering figure. It was humanoid in shape, but composed entirely of swirling energy patterns. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, reverberating in their very bones. Welcome, children of Earth and Zarkon, the being intoned. We have waited long for your return. Sarah stepped forward, her heart pounding. What are you? The energy being's form shimmered. We are the progenitors, the seeders of life throughout this galaxy. You stand in the nexus, the hub from which we spread our children across the stars. Zarna moved to Sara's side, her eyes wide with wonder. You created both our species. Yes and no, the progenitor replied. We set the foundation, planted the seeds of life on countless worlds, but it was the unique conditions of your respective planets that shaped you into what you are today. The being's form expanded, filling the chamber with swirling patterns of light. You have come seeking answers, but I'm afraid our time is short. The great enemy that forced us into hibernation eons ago has reawakened. Even now, they approach this world, intent on destroying all we have created. As if to punctuate its words, a distant rumble shook the structure. Alarms blared from the team's equipment. Multiple ships entering the atmosphere, Tilara reported urgently. Energy signatures matched those of our pursuers, but magnified 100-fold. The progenitor's form pulsed with urgency. You must complete the convergence. It is the only way to unlock your true potential and stand against the coming darkness. Convergence? Sarah asked, a sense of foreboding settling in her stomach. What does that mean? The being's gaze seemed to focus on Sarah and Zarna. The two of you represent the pinnacle of your respective species' evolution. Together, you hold the key to activating the Nexus's full power. Another tremor shook the chamber, more violent this time. The sound of distant explosions reached their ears. There is no time to explain further, the progenitor said. You must choose now. Enter the convergence chamber and face the trials within. If you succeed, you will gain the power to protect not just your own species, but all life in the galaxy. Fail, and all will be lost. A doorway materialized in the chamber wall, pulsing with ethereal energy. Sarah turned to Zarna, seeing her own mix of fear and determination mirrored in her partner's alien eyes. Together, Sarah asked, extending her hand. Zarna's mandibles clicked in what Sarah now recognized as a smile. Always. As their hands clasped, a surge of energy coursed through them. They turned as one towards the convergence chamber. Wait, Kexvor called out. You can't seriously be considering this. It could be a trap. Sarah looked back at her team, her expression resolute. We don't have a choice. Whatever's out there, it's coming for all of us. This might be our only chance to stop it. With a final nod to their companions, Sarah and Zarna stepped through the shimmering portal. The last thing they heard before it sealed behind them was the progenitor's final warning. Remember, the trials will test not just your bodies and minds, but the very essence of your bond. Trust in each other, and in the shared heritage that binds you. The fate of the galaxy rests in your hands. As the portal vanished, leaving the rest of the team to face the oncoming threat, Sarah and Zarna found themselves in a realm beyond imagination. The convergence chamber stretched out before them, a series of impossible landscapes and mind-bending challenges that would push them to their very limits. Their greatest test was about to begin, and with it, the destiny of two species, and countless others, hung in the balance. The fate of the galaxy now rested on the shoulders of a human diplomat and her alien partner. As they took their first steps into the unknown, Sarah and Zarna knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together.